It's Wednesday, November 16th from Howler Magazine, Dirty Tackle, and the Total Soccer Show. This is The Goalmouth. I'm George Qureshi, and oh my God, let's just get this out of the way and never speak of it again. The United States lost to Costa Rica last night 4-0. Actually, we will talk more about it, just not in this venue. I will have Bobby Warshaw on this week's episode of Dummy to discuss the story he wrote for whatahowler.com on Monday entitled Dos Asaro. The fact that Jurgen Klinsmann still has a job makes me sad. I think it's about time to update that already. On today's menu of succulent tiki tapas, Gigi Buffon sets a record, translating Geordie, the dialect, not Cruyff. Kim Jong-un's big plans for North Korean soccer dominance. Pep Guardiola tightens his grip. And I have no euphemism for this. It's simply one of the craziest soccer-related stories I have ever read, and it's out of Thailand. First up, Gigi Buffon tied Iker Casillas' record of 167 international caps by a European player when he appeared in Italy's friendly with Germany on Tuesday. Buffon is 38 years old, but unlike Casillas, he is still an active international. He'll need 17 more to equal the men's world record of 184 held by Ahmed Hassan of Egypt. Oh yeah, England tied Spain's reserve team 2-2. Sorry, Daryl. And I can just say, Daryl was so right. I am jealous that the Jack Warner, Donald Trump item fell on his day. As someone who has traveled to Trinidad, specifically to stay in a hotel owned by Jack Warner, I feel a special connection to this story. I have stayed in a building owned by Jack Warner. Jack Warner has stayed in a building owned by Donald Trump. And all it would take to complete this perverse triangle would be for Donald Trump to come spend the night at my house. Not an invitation, just an observation. Moving on, the Chronicle reports that Rafa Benitez's Spanish coaching staff keeps a cheat sheet to help them translate Geordie slang into the English they are somewhat more familiar with. The headline reads, Newcastle United coaches embracing local culture. But I would recast it as Newcastle United coaches desperate to understand what is being said to them by their employees. Here are some examples. I, yes. Nar, no. Ni, no. War, our. Gan, going. Ye, you. Dune, down. Neat, night. Kenny, good. Belta, really good. Oa, over. Reet, right. Nebby, nosy. Nout, nothing. Hinny, female. Hoos, house. Rang, wrong. Wonga, predatory, loan shark. And speaking of manager-player relations, Pep Guardiola is back on my radar. The Goalmouth has previously brought you news of his edicts banning cell phone use at Manchester City's training ground and colorful boots by City's youth players. Now, according to Samir Nasri, Pep has declared that well, I know for a fact that there are children listening to this, so let me translate this into Geordie. If ye gan to have a belta time with your bonny hinny, ye better get dune and be oa with it before midnight. I know, Pep is getting pretty nebby. I mean, it's really none of his business if a lass and a laddie go deeking for a canny time whenever they want, but according to Nasri, the policy is in place so that members of the toon don't get too knackered. In actual dictatorship news, the head of the International School of Pyongyang Football, Yu Hei, says, quote, we train our youngsters to become more talented players than even Lionel Messi. For now, we are aiming to dominate Asia, and in the near future, I hope we can dominate the world. North Korea is currently the world's 126th ranked soccer team, according to FIFA, and honestly, I was a little skeptical when I saw this story in Marca. I pay pretty close attention to the region because I lived in South Korea for 1 year, and so much false news comes out of North Korea that I always like to check up on it. So I went over to kcna.kp. Always a worthwhile read. It's the website of the Korean Central News Agency. And I saw no mention of this messy cloning program, but I did see a notice about a FIFA coaching course that took place in the capital earlier this week. It was led by a, quote, FIFA lecturer named Konstantin Steven. Quick Google search reveals that the head coach of the Indian national team is one Stephen Constantine, an Englishman who played, according to Wikipedia, for the Pennsylvania Stoners and New York Pan-Cyprian Freedoms, and has coached the national teams of Nepal, India, twice, Malawi, Sudan, and Rwanda. So I don't know if Stephen Constantine or Constantine Steven was in North Korea holding a coaching course, but I do know that I want to have him on Dummy soon, and the idea that FIFA and North Korea are somehow working together is perhaps the most plausible thing I've said in this podcast so far. Finally, I take you to Thailand. I checked the Bangkok Post earlier this week because I had seen a story saying that Thailand was hosting Australia in a World Cup qualifier one day after the end of the official mourning period of the late king, and there was apparently some question over whether the players would be permitted to celebrate if they scored a goal. Side note, the game ended 2-2, and apparently goals were celebrated. But while I was there this morning, I saw a headline I just had to click on. Quote, life imprisonment for shooting of football referee. Here are the first 3 paragraphs. The appeals court has reversed the lower court's judgment and convicted and sentenced Sergeant Maj Sirisuk Janlung to life imprisonment for masterminding the shooting of football referee Tanam Borikut in September 2013. In a ruling read out at the criminal court in Bangkok on Tuesday, Sergeant Maj Sirisuk, 56, formerly of military intelligence, was found guilty of hiring taxi motorcyclist Kosin Sinualkam to take a gunman to shoot 46-year-old Tanam dead in the grounds of the Sports Authority of Thailand in Bangkok's Bang Kapi district on September 4th, 2016. Mr. Kanam survived but was seriously wounded. So this guy, military intelligence, I guess that's maybe like a spy or something, hired a taxi motorcycle driver to take a gunman to shoot a soccer referee dead. The soccer referee survived. Okay, back to the story. Prosecutors earlier told the court that Sergeant Maj Sirisuk and 2 accomplices provided 100,000 baht to pay Kosin, an alleged gunman, Sukum Dengo Kuwanich, 34. Kosin was reported to have died of a heart attack last year, aged 21 years. Okay, me again. Let's break this down. First, 100,000 baht is $2,822.26. That is a serious bargain for both a contract killer and a getaway driver. Don't ask me how I know that. Second, why was this guy acquitted by the lower court? Well, the prosecution's only witness was the getaway driver, who, as the story said, died of a heart attack at the age of 21 last year. And if you believe that, I have a whole team of cute little North Korean Leo Messis to sell you. Third, why did they want to kill the referee? Not much detail here, I'm afraid. The story says, quote, police linked the shooting of Mr. Tanam to his refereeing of a match between Insi Police United and Buriram United on July 24th, 2013. So they overturned the acquittal, and this guy is now going to prison, though of course he will be appealing. And there is a little bit more information on what exactly is at the root of all this. I'm going to read from the story again. In April this year, the Asian Football Confederation suspended Mr. Tanam, a FIFA-level assistant referee, pending investigation into allegations of match fixing. In 2014, he and other match officials were taken to swear on oath before the Emerald Buddha that they had never done anything wrong and would do their job straightforwardly and honestly. In 2009, Mr. Tanam, who was then an army sergeant and Saraburi sports official, was arrested in the province on a charge of murdering his sports supervisor, Tamanun Pratumam, with a bomb. He allegedly confessed to the murder, and the criminal court sentenced him 5 years in prison. Tanam appealed the judgment and was granted bail. Okay, that's it. The end of the story. I have so many questions about all this. All in all, pretty bad journalism. Absolutely amazing story. My name is George Qureshi, and I swear to you before the Emerald Buddha that I have tried to deliver this podcast straightforwardly and honestly. Taylor Rockwell will be with you tomorrow morning. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, where you can click out to all the stories I've mentioned in this podcast. The link to sign up is in the show notes, and I leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. Don't be a doilum and put a snout in your gob.